Okay, so
questions are easy.
stranger talking.
Alright, so after reading the first sentence of Albert Camus' masterpiece, The Stranger, many readers and critics conclude that its protagonist, Marceau, as either a fool or a madman, or a callous boor. Today, Maman died, or perhaps yesterday, I don't know. I received a telegram from the nursing home. So what do you guys think?
Well, I think overall it portrays him as not so much foolish, callous, or insensitive or any of that. He's just very, very literal-minded.
I think he's very honest too.
Yeah, exactly. Like other people, like it's kind of based on how readily you make inferences. All the people at the trial, the jury, the judge, the lawyers, they think, oh, he wasn't sad that his mom died and inferred that he killed a man.
But didn't he kill a man?
Well, inferred that he murdered a man. And so there's this huge logical leap that it's perfectly okay to make in normal society that Camus is pointing out by having a character who doesn't make these sort of huge false logical leaps. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
But it seems like the trial didn't. They didn't focus on the fact that he did kill somebody.
Yeah,
They focused on the fact
on all the other things that he
Yeah,
previously
on how
done.
insensitive and how dangerous.
Marceau, all he wanted to he didn't care if he was put in jail or free or anything. He killed a man. That's all he done. He didn't want explanations of it.
Yeah.
I love his character because I wish that people were more that way, more literal.
Yeah.
Because everything's made up, and so honestly, like government feelings, everything's made up.
That's precisely the point.
Yeah.
Like, you have all these people, this entire society focusing on what does it mean? And they focus on that so much that they forget what it actually is.
Yeah.
This first quote basically, like, it reveals Marcel's character, like, because he has emotional indifference as his trait.
Here, I'll read the quote again. Today, Maman died. Or perhaps yesterday. I don't know. I've reviewed a telegram from the nursing home. It's very to the point.
There's also kind of this theme of time there, and you'll notice most of the things that Marceau doesn't care about aren't the things that are happening around him. They're what's in the past.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't care if his mom died that day or yesterday. She's dead. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care if, he doesn't care if he killed a man because that's in the past. The man's dead. He regrets it, but he can't really take it back.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of this concept of everyone else thinks of past events as mattering, whereas he just kind of accepts that you can't control it because it already happened.
Isn't it strange to say that he doesn't dwell in the past, but he doesn't dwell in the present or the future? You know, he's just that point in time. He's just there, and he's indifferent to everything. That can be seen as a little strange. I, for one, was like, okay, this guy's mom died. Where's the emotion? Like, you know.
Well, I think that's what everyone inevitably wants to do, like be in the moment of it. But people always think too much ahead or too far behind, and they're like stuck there.
So you're saying it's like the cliche, like he's living his life.
Yeah, he's living his life in the moment. He's
Yeah.
not thinking about anything else, which is actually really good.
And it's not like he doesn't feel, he just doesn't feel
The way
when
we want
he
it, yeah.
logically shouldn't feel.
Like, it's easily to get emotional when you're reading Marcel's character because you just want him to, like, in a way, respond and show some, like, emotion, but he doesn't want to change his character, so it just leaves you flabbergasted.
I think we're so used to the fact that characters are so like flamboyant. Like if it was Charles Dickens writing this at the beginning of the book, how someone's mom died,
Yeah.
he'd add like, oh, the past was so much to like, I don't know. It'd just be so flamboyant.
The
Like,
chapter
and we're
with
so
his mom.
used to that. I think we need to go back to the reality and like the raw, like actual emotion of someone. That's like it happened. You can't change it.
Yeah, and I think part of Camus' thesis is more that reality is reality, but it's defined just as much by how you think about it as by what it, quote, is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, I killed a man. This can either be interpreted as a very minor crime or a very major crime, depending on how I felt when I did it. How much sense does that make? It doesn't.
Yeah, you still killed a person. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't be deferred.
But then in the book, like during the trial, they didn't focus on him killing a man. You know, it wasn't
Precisely.
even that big of a deal. It was just, oh yeah, his emotions towards his mother were so pathetic. he's a horrible person, let's lock him up, you know?
After the funeral, he took a girl out to a movie, so that reveals little emotion.
But it does matter how you feel when you kill somebody. That's why they have degrees of murder. And
Oh, it matters. It matters
Very much
legally,
so,
but
because-
part of his it matters legally speaking. But I think part of his thesis is that things we build, like laws and concepts in society, aren't
That's,
real.
yeah.
They're made up.
That's weird because that makes me think like it means that laws have a bias when they shouldn't. Because it's like when you kill someone, it should be okay. You kill someone, you automatically go to jail for this amount of time, but it's actually based on a bias of how the judge feels, like how you felt. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's based on so much of how we define reality is based on what we think. It's not based on what's out here. It's based on what we think.
You move on to a quote.
Next quote, please.
Okay. Do you feel like Marceau in The Stranger permits others to define his reactions and to create a social identity for him? So basically, do you feel that Marceau relies on others to build his character, to build who he is?
No, because actually I have a quote as well. Just a sec. It says, "For the first time in years, I had the stupid urge to cry because I could feel how much all these people hated me." And so he's not really relying on them. He has his own built definition of how people. Wait, I had this. He already built up his own character, and he doesn't want everyone to just have one perspective of him, because as you can see, he felt like they all hated him. So if he wanted to cry, he's like, "No, that's not how I am."
Yeah.
I think it's easy to think that Marceau relies on others to define him, when really what he's doing is just living in the mindset that he doesn't have to be defined at all. And when you're blank, it's easy to look like you're relying on others to define you, when really you're just not asking the question at all.
I think it's like a deception, because the first half of the book, it looks like people are, but then the second half of the book where he's in jail and all these emotions and thoughts run through his head, and you're kind of like, start connecting with him. Okay, yeah, he is a human being, he does have feelings, he just doesn't show them to the outside world, which kind of brings in the theme of isolation.
What do you guys feel about how he dealt with his girlfriend Marie when she was like, "We should get married," and he's like, "I don't know if I love you." What do you?
Or he was like, "I don't love you."
Yeah, he was like,
He said, "I don't think
he
so."
tells her that he probably doesn't love her, but he doesn't know. What do you guys feel about that?
But also in that quote, he says, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, "It doesn't matter, but I don't think so."
He's honest.
I remember this because I've used this like 4 times in the essay.
I remember using it. Got a good score.
He's honest. I think that's a good trait. I mean, what girl would want, a guy to be like, "Yeah, I love you," and then, if you're not honest about it, then, what's
That's
the
kind of
point
like,
of the relationship?
it's kind of funny because you base your marriage on like trust and honesty.
Right, yeah.
So if you're gonna lie at the altar and be like, "Oh yeah, I love you," and through sickness and death and death do us part and everything, it's like
True
sickness and health.
But it's
So
not
death do us part. It's like, if you're not actually gonna commit to that, then don't say it. And he obviously knew that. So he
The thing is, it's not necessarily that he doesn't love her. He doesn't see why he needs to love her or why he needs to have a relationship with her. It's not like he's not sure if he loves her yet because they haven't hung out enough or they haven't seen enough
hung out
movies
with her
yet.
after the
It's because he's conflicted within himself as to whether or not he needs to have that sort of relationship with a woman.
I think it's interesting because I think when he says he probably doesn't love her or he questions it, it's because I don't think humans in general know what love is. Like, I don't know how to phrase that, but it's like you don't know when you reach love. Like, no one has a radar for when it's love. Like, people say, "Oh, you're either in lust or in love," but you can't tell the difference. Like, when you're actually in it.
And moreover, love is something we invented.
Yeah,
It
you
doesn't
can't. There's
exist.
no point to where you're in love. Like,
There
you
is,
can't.
and there are so many things. There are so many things that just wouldn't
I'm there.
exist if we hadn't thought of them.
Yeah.
They're not like things we created just entirely.